what the breath work really is bringing safety back to self. And we need to get back there. So hopefully this will maybe be helpful. It's just, I want people to understand.
Hey, welcome, man. Hey, y'all back for episode 69, dog. 69 of Technical Speaking, where we are giving you news
that you can use.
Hey. So we got your host as always, man. We got the main man with the game plan, Mr. Corey Giovanni. How you doing tonight, sir?
What's going on, everybody? I'm doing really good. Happy to be here. About you?
Hey, I'm good, man. And then we got Bobby with an I, because Y is for a guy. How you doing, man?
Awesome.
Possum. I like that. And then we got the OG Millennial, Dr. Poole. How you doing today, sir? I like that shirt.
Hey, guys.
Hey, let me borrow that shirt for a little bit. I'll give it back.
It might be too small for you in the chest area, bro. You kind of got that.
True. And then
I don't think I was supposed to laugh at that so hard.
It's all good. When you got it, you got it. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. So we got a special guest tonight, repeat offender, friend of the show. She is a certified therapist. And everybody, let's give a warm welcome back to Miss Sara Wilder. Come on, man.
Thank you for having me, guys, back again.
Thanks for coming back. We needed to have you back because of everything that's going on. But what I want you to do, Sara, before we jump into it, is just update everyone. What do you have going on right now? How are you helping people right now with what you do?
Oh man, I just try to grasp in any way. Like, I guess my main goal is to try to inspire people to like live their life, because mental health, happens in the process of living and integrating it. But so professionally, I've kind of shifted my focus away from doing the traditional style of therapy and doing like that one-on-one sit on the couch. Like, I love stereotypes, but we gotta be innovative in 2025. So I shifted more to what I call therapeutic coaching. And so I've just launched my new program that kind of puts the responsibility of doing the work kind of back into a person's hands and necessarily off a therapist. I know that sounds odd, but what I mean by that is there's a lot of people who need to take time to reflect on what's going to make them more well and also nourish themselves. So I kind of help people build that lifestyle through the relationship with food, and basically learn your emotions with food, since we can make common narratives and attachments surrounding food. So
that last little part kind of went out a little bit.
Oh, like what last little part?
It was relationship with, and then it cut out for a little bit.
Okay, so the relationship with our emotions tend to kind of integrate and cross into our relationship with food. So I help people do that therapeutic work specifically through that rebuilding and recovering through the relationship with food.
Oh, so you speak my language.
Eat motions instead of emotions. Eat motions.
Yeah.
Eat motions. I love it.
Okay.
Because we all know that one meal that's going to give us some comfort. Man. Or the one parent that's going to try to feed you until you have to practice healthy boundaries and be like, excuse me, ma'am.
AKA oxtails.
I mean, I'm not going to turn oxtails down. No, I'm not.
Damn. You know what I just discovered that's now a new guilty pleasure I got to stay away from?
What's that?
Those ranch fries. Oh, man. They're like the hot fries, but it's ranch.
Oh, like the chips.
Yeah, the chips. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Terrible. Like, yeah.
You gluten-free.
That's gluten-free as corn.
Oh. Hey, have at it, bro. Like, there's not much you can eat because you gluten-free, brother. So, you know what I'm saying? You can't have a pizza, but you can have that.
I got to take tips from
You can have
Sara.
a cauliflower crust pizza.
True.
In that case, that.
You know what? Speaking of relationship with food, I gotta trick my mind and use my I gotta use my imagination to make psych myself. Yeah, this piece is good. It ain't good.
No, it ain't.
It ain't. So when you get it,
be all right.
There you go. I dip it in ranch. Hey,
There you go.
Hot sauce or ranch, those are pretty much the only thing that'll trick your brain into thinking you're joyous in the moment.
Nice. Ketchup. Ooh.
With pizza? Ketchup with pizza?
Look,
That's all tomato sauce thing, right?
Get away because I'm gonna get real opinionated on that.
That's a struggle meal right there.
I'm gonna side with Sarah over here. She and I are both about to get opinionated on that.
I get the logic because it's just like tomato sauce. The tomato.
That's like putting ketchup on tacos. We don't do that.
Yeah. Ew, who does that? Hey, chime in. You do that, huh?
Salsa and ketchup's different. Salsa and tomato sauce, not that much different.
It's a lot.
It sure is.
To each his own. Hey now.
Yo, for real.
Agree to disagree on that one.
You put ketchup in your tacos?
Who?
Do I put ketchup in tacos? No. But if I were making a pizza and I didn't have any tomato sauce, yeah, I'd probably use a little bit of ketchup.
Y'all's Mexican food is different than our Mexican food, though. So what kind of tacos are we talking about?
No tacos.
No.
See, this is why people need therapy. We argue over foodie topics such as this.
And my point included, we can all heal through the relationship with food.
Sarah, where are you at again?
I'm in North Carolina.
In North Carolina. Okay.
North Carolina.
North Kakalaka. That's one of the North Kakalaka homies right there, holding it down with that mental health. Come on now. Speaking of mental health, Corey, get us started, man. You requested her several times through several different episodes, and I was like, Sarah, please come back because we need some help. We need some healing, but lead us in on what we're gonna talk about and why we need Sarah's help right now.
So, to turn to a more serious note, we've all know that. Just, I believe 3 weeks ago, Charlie Kirk was murdered in broad daylight, assassinated, right? I want to make sure I get the terminology correct. And although that was a very, very, very hurtful thing to see, a lot of people are affected by it. And a lot of people are affected by it traumatically. And since Sara, who has a background in therapy, we invited her to come on so she could be able to not just tell us how to heal, but ways of we can be able to take steps into dealing with the grief, even being triggered by somebody seeing someone being assassinated, or triggered by the fact and anger by the fact that this happened, or even, other things that it may remind them of. We at Technically Speaking News, we're always here to help. That's our first thing of serving our community, is helping them. We have our resident therapist, Sara, to go ahead to drop us some helpful hints and some tools that we can use to make us and you guys as well work through any type of trauma you may experience. So Sara, I hand it over to you.
Oh, okay. That's a big old mic right there. Well, I do appreciate you guys even considering me having back on. I guess I didn't piss anyone off too bad the first time. So, but no, I mean, mental health, I guess just to open it up, look, it's a lot of different things. I'm starting out on more of my media journey of just like, okay, there's really no one thing. You gotta pick of the lottery of where you want to start, and it's gonna look different for everyone. I make one strong recommendation of like the one non-negotiable is you got to get breath work down to a certain extent. So if anyone's looking to start with like, okay, what does mental health mean? It does mean regulating your breath a lot. And it's ironic because as someone, I teach this, but it's the one thing that every single day, I'm in the gym and I stop and I hold my breath and I'm doing something and I'm like, and I get frustrated with myself. But the point is that it's really just an awareness, and that has to build over time. By no means am I happy that Mr. Kirk literally was killed on television for people to see. But unfortunately, that's not a new thing for a lot of people. But I do think if you have the chance to not see it, if you happen to be behind the 8 ball and living under a rock, do not watch it because we don't necessarily need to know. Our brains are attracted to things that we don't know. That's why we've evolved as a species. So we don't necessarily have to go seek out any more trauma, but we definitely need to work on like, okay, how do we reduce that in our lives? Because that's where it gets, mental health becomes a very vast conversation, but the one thing we all have in common is we got lungs and we got to breathe intentionally in order to learn how to regulate ourselves.
Huh. What type of breathing technique do you recommend?
Well, thanks for asking that, Mr. Vet himself. Honestly, I learned this a lot. My brother is, still active duty veteran, but honestly, it's the Navy SEAL breathing technique, box breathing, or like Navy SEAL breathing, or however you hold. But literally, you actually inhale, hold your breath for a little bit, and that kind of brings your awareness back to your body because you're doing it intentionally, and then releasing on every exhale. Do you guys want me to run like through a true therapeutic exercise with you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I should have been more prepared and having like my little.
You might just save a life or two.
For real.
I need this. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, and all this, I mean, I have my own YouTube with a lot of, just kind of rants of like just getting my knowledge out there for people so they can check that out too. But so a couple things before the breathing, the really.
Hold on, Sarah. You mentioned you have a YouTube. If we'll get it from you, but tell the people your YouTube channel, because once they get these tools, we want them to use them.
Yep.
Better. So I think it's perspective counseling, but why I put my website on my name is it's all linked through my website. All my socials are in the top right corner. My YouTube is up there. So it takes everything direct, because honestly, I have trouble finding my own YouTube channel.
No worries, we got you. We got you.
So, but I have a great assistant and she set all that up through my website. So
Nice.
Some key take in twos for breath in box breathing. I call it box breathing. You can call it 3-2-1 breathe, whatever you call it. We're going to breathe intentionally. But the keys are you want to inhale through your nose as much as possible and exhale through your mouth. So if you have stuffed up sinuses, do what you can. If you have to inhale through your mouth, that's okay. Someone just reminded this, if you yawn in the middle of it, that's a good sign. Your body is actually it's naturally regulating because you've thrown off the pattern of unaware breathing and just kind of like on autopilot. So it wouldn't be a surprise if you yawn and then you just kind of have to get in the sequence again. And then, so we're going to do 3 intentional box breaths, take a little break to breathe normally. And then I tell people to do everything in 3s. So do those 3 box breaths, break for 3 to 5 seconds, 3 more, break, 3 more. Any questions?
What if you start to get dizzy?
Then just breathe naturally and bring yourself back to whatever feels comfortable.
Don't pass out.
Yeah, please don't pass out because I can't get to y'all. And like, maybe I should drop your locations in the box and like, I'll do my best to call somewhere.
Hey, I just did 3 of them and it did feel better. I like that.
Yeah, right.
I yawned and I covered it up.
A little woozy a little bit on my 2nd and a half one. That's kind of like,
Oh man.
So the
got a little
sequence,
lightheaded.
the inhale through your nose, hold. So it really depends on the person. I tailor this to my clients when they tell me what works for them. For me, I'm a sequence. So I do inhale for 3, hold for 4, exhale for 5. Because in my brain, it's like, oh, okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. It just happens like that. That's how I remember it. Some people are visual. So I have a visual box on like my social medias that, just trace the box. So it could be 4, 4, 4. But that hold is actually really important for we're operating on autopilot for the majority of our day. When it comes to mental health, we're building that awareness and that consciousness back. So we're really just, that hold is what, if you're driving a car, you click off the co-pilot when someone gets in front of you doing stupid stuff. And you're like, okay, well, you ruined the flow.
Yep.
When the flow gets ruined, you bring it back with the breath. And the reason, not that this is super important, but just for some perspective here, because that's my thing. The reason I push this and I will die on this hill, and I say it to all my groups and all my clients, my professional career has come through the prison system. These people stuck in institutions can't just go to the salon and go get a massage. If you do get a massage, it's a little sus, it's not, you have to use the resources that are available to you everywhere. And if people don't know how to access their own brains and the own information in their brains, then we're going to be misdiagnosing a heck of a lot out there, which we already have been, but that's another soapbox for another day.
Right.
She'll be back.
Yeah. When I don't get shadow banned for what I have to say.
So, what I'm getting is, when experiencing a traumatic situation, first steps I should do is breathe.
Yeah.
And box breathing is one of them. And, thank you for that.
Because, thank
you. Real talk, and Gen Zs, millennials, even Gen Xers nowadays, first thing something traumatic happened, they're pulling out phones. They're like, oh, let me see if I can get this and I'm gonna get that. And the thing about it is, I don't know what that does for the brain, but it can't be good because you're not processing like, oh, somebody else could get shot or I could get trembled. Everybody else is trying to get the best viral shot so they can go viral and not thinking. And then obviously, if you're not thinking and you're moving, you're getting less oxygen to the brain. And I'm assuming, right? Yep. So then now you're not thinking in the right headspace, right? And that's important. So as far as like grief wise, what would you say for those who want to use these techniques in breathing? I know there's some that does the tapping, and then I know there's some that does like the the count backwards. But what other techniques can somebody deal with when it comes around to just having a traumatic trigger from an incident?
I'm going to get right to that after I kind of say this from what you just said. And I could make an argument for the Gen Zers and the cell phones being an attempt at safety. But what breath is bringing safety back to self. And so that's why I'm going to say it's on the appetizer plate. Everything's revolved around food in my vocabulary. It's on the side. Like, I can make sense as to people, they're trying to protect whoever and whatever happened, especially when there's shootings these days, because the real situation is, there have been inappropriate shootings of people and that needs to be documented. But what the breath work really is bringing safety back to self. And we need to get back there. So hopefully this will maybe be helpful. It's just, I want people to understand what the phones are, what the breath is, what the space, this conversation is. It's creating safety. It's creating safety internally with the breath, because that's regulating your central nervous system. And then sometimes we're not going to have the privilege of safety all the time. And so if you can train your brain to be, the first thing you do is like be able to bring your awareness back to self, whether it to move yourself from the situation and create safety for yourself. And you're still going to have to do the internal safety. And I think that's probably, there's a lot of different things I could say are the most important things about mental health, but a non-negotiable is the internal safety mechanism that you have to, and build trust with yourself. So that being said, to lay the foundation for like grief, I tend to work with very high functioning intellectual people, really smart, but low emotional intelligence. I was one of them, so I'm technically talking about me and not anyone else. So what I do in my practice is I try to give people a way to intellectualize, because that's what they're going to do anyway. They're going to self-diagnose, they're going to do this. So when it comes to grief, I make acronyms for people to consider. Grief, I would encourage you to think of it as general resistance and emotional flow, GRIEF.
Nice.
And the reason I do that is because all the breath is doing is moving the emotional energy that you're producing after witnessing something or experiencing something externally back, and you're having to retrain your brain to know, like, okay, when I have an emotional reaction, sometimes you really can't do anything with it. Sometimes you can't express yourself because you might get canceled, or you can't express it because you haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
It's instinct to want to just displace it and to deflect it out of you. But when it comes to loss, like true, whether it's all these layoffs that are going on, whether it's witnessing, the Charlie Kirk murder, it is loss. You are losing the version of yourself in safety from the moment before. If you've lost a family member, the grief it's kind of, I'm biased at this point because grief is my whole life now, is I help people literally lose things. whether it's a problem, a marriage that they come to me, a death, but it's now with the relationship with food, I get kind of niched into this, oh, she's a fitness instructor. No, I mean, I'm helping people lose their stagnancy in their emotional relationship with themselves. Like that is a version of ourselves where we had most of us, I'm not gonna say everyone because someone's gonna be like, oh, that's not me. But we generally all have never been taught how to emotionally cope well. And our identities have formed around the systemic and the actual traumas that we've experienced in life. And I, to this day, have not met one person who's been privileged enough to not be traumatized. And they may not realize that.
Excellent point.
But there's people who be like, oh yeah, I grew up in a 2-parent stable household. We all came through September 11th to this point, if we're in the general age category. Like, if you witness something, but what I want people to take away from this grief and trauma, why they go hand in hand, is because some people who have experienced excessive traumas in their life are going to have a higher reactivity to any type of loss, or an under-reactivity. It tends to be on both sides. But we really have to work towards how do we figure out what kind of grieving process we need. It doesn't need to be super prolonged, but if we resist it, if we try to be like, oh, I can't cry in public, or I can't feel anything, it's just going to be there for a rainy day, for the time where you don't really want to deal with it. You can't push it off for but so long.
Right. Huh. Can you give me that acronym one more time? Grief?
General resistance in emotional flow.
Grief.
So think of it like, okay, so I use my personal stories to help people not personalize theirs. Standard typical grief situation would be a loss. I lost my father when I was young, old enough to know, okay, I got to do life on my own. I was 16. We had to figure it out. I remember very distinctly just shutting down, just turning it off. To the day, like, where it was, and I am a very emotional person, but I had no awareness, and I just was like, no, can't do it, until like 10 years later when I became a therapist. And I was like close to 400 pounds. Because why? Well, because food became my coping skill. So we may be coping, you're resisting in some way, but your brain is going to find some way to help keep you generally in a place of some type of regulation. It just tends not to be sustainable. So that's why I put general resistance, because we tend to be like, nope, I ain't doing it. Get someone else to do it. And
I totally understand that. That's more of a, I'll compartmentalize that situation for another day.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Good point. Good point. Donald, you got any questions?
Yeah, sure. I guess for different ways of dealing with mental therapy, can you give me a comparison between physical therapy and mental therapy, since you were talking about how so much is related to food, and the difference, if there is a difference in the correlation between mental and physical health?
Yeah, I think, to respect the two external industries, they are very different. Physical therapy does focus more on the body, but they have that blended area where we create energy that gets held in the body. So physical injuries do have emotional attachments to it, specifically more when it comes to the topic of pain. A lot of research, it's kind of inconclusive because I'm not really sure how you can quantify this, but majority of pain physically has a majority of psychological attachment to it. I can speak to that one myself. Growing up as an athlete, my knees, no, they hold me back. Like there are certain high jumps I'm just not going to do after having a knee surgery. That's a financial investment now. Then the emotional attachment to the finances, like when you're an adult and you see how it like snowballs. It's not just so. We have all these emotional attachments, and physical therapy has to be a concurrent therapy with some of the work that I do, because if there is an old injury that, is causing severe physical pain is absolutely very real. It's just, it all is perceived in this one area. Right. And if you've got a backlog of emotional pain things, of people just making snide remarks, little T traumas, big T traumas, then your perceived stress surrounding a physical energy or a physical injury is going to be a little bit more exacerbated. And then I have the lovely responsibility of navigating that conversation, which has been interesting. Working in addictions, you have a lot of concurrent physical pain, especially with people coming off opiates. Again, another conversation for another time. But I'm going to get back around to this. I think Corey brought up tapping. When we have emotional traumas, they get stored in the body. So and if it's not really trendy, it's kind of like the Bible in my field, but it's becoming more mainstream. It's a very dry read though, but the body keeps the score is kind of like the trauma manual when it comes to understanding that mind-body connection. But they run hand in hand. And that's why I tend to try to work with healthcare providers as my primary clients now, if I am going to do more one-to-one counseling, because they're responsible for kind of being the therapist if people don't break through the stigma of going and having an emotional space to build that safety. Kind of all falls on all these other disciplinary, professionals that are kind of ill prepared. Honestly, people in my field are ill prepared to be dealing with people's traumas.
Right. That's good. Good question, Dr. Poole.
Yeah.
Bobby, did you have any input on there that you wanted to ask Sara about?
I have a question, but it's not quite like Dr. Poole's. So you mentioned that people who have had excessive trauma often have more issues later on in life, but if somebody has excessive trauma that's undealt with and they mix drugs and pills on top of it over time, those type of people are, in my personal opinion, they might be a little bit dangerous to other people because they have that undealt with trauma. So they're not managing their mental health well, and because of that, again, it'll snowball into other things. And so how do we deal with those type of people that are difficult to love?
That's a great question, because at this point,
I'm upside the head.
for me,
I'm sorry.
I often forget how new of a topic this is for people. I've been in my career, 12 plus years now, and it's, addiction runs in my family. And honestly, so to answer your question directly, what do? Is you do your own recovery. On the opposite side of an overt problem, there's always a covert person who low-key enables it. Again, talking about myself, not calling anyone else. I can easily be, as a helper, a healer, a progressive person, can easily cause the problem if I'm not careful. And because we don't always know how to deal with other people's lack of accountability to their own emotions, and people who are trying to escape into a reality that just feels better to them, often now falls on us as a support system we have to learn healthy boundaries with ourselves. So when that person is struggling, that we slowly know how to remove ourselves if we don't have to cut it off altogether. I'm never going to tell anyone to cut their family off, but I'm also never going to tell anyone to just go cold turkey either. I tend to help people from a supportive standpoint is we all have to learn emotional boundaries, intellectual boundaries, not only just with the external world, but with ourselves. And that's why I take the approach I do with doing the therapeutic coaching, is because I just saw so many families, they're like, well, it's this person's problem because they're doing drugs and it causes me discomfort. And I'm like, honey, your discomfort is your responsibility. They are not, if they want to do drugs, I can't stop them. I mean, could I counsel them differently? Yes, but it's not something that we can really overlook anymore, is that we've come from an extreme, not only traumatic, but what trauma does is trauma dysregulates and blurs the line internally. It's not always what happens to us. It's how we experience it, internalize it, and then play the tape over and over again. Yeah. So if a supportive, like a mom, doesn't want their child to use drugs anymore, and they're just like, please don't use drugs, please don't use drugs, and they just put so much pressure on it, but they don't think about creating a space where that person doesn't want to do drugs.
Good point.
There's multiple outcomes that can change the cycle and the patterns that exist within our enmeshed family structures.
I think you hit the nail on the head where people would just have to set healthy boundaries. Know what those are and know what you're willing to kind of put up with, because once it becomes an issue of safety, there's toxicity involved. Those healthy boundaries need to come into place and say, hey, this is my line. You can't come across it. And even if they don't respect that, you can still remove yourself, I think, from the situation to prevent further trauma.
Yeah. And it looks different for every family. We have a pretty tricky saying. It sucks for me, but I find it hilarious. But every answer in my profession is it depends. It really depends on the severity of the situation. But I try to help people get away from that reactive protocol to more of a preventive and proactive protocol within those family dynamics of like, let's learn how to talk therapeutically and set those boundaries so we don't have to result to this push and pull like dynamic within the family.
Yeah, I like that. I think Dr. Poole has something. You had something, Dr. Poole?
Yeah, I was in listening to what you were just saying right now. I was thinking of how a lot of instances kind of desensitize people. Do you think? Can you give an example or explanation on how seeing an event like Charlie Kirk assassination or anything mentally can desensitize us as a culture? Because you're talking a lot about numbing feeling. That's like desensitizing, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, you've said it already, introduced it pretty well in itself, is that, I guess I'll just drive it deeper, is that one is the brain protect itself. So desensitization is kind of like a categorization of like, we've already seen this. And if you have your protocol set up to not process emotionally, the problem with that is that you're actually experiencing it and be like, I'm fine. I do that with certain sounds of like, and unfortunately certain things, because I deal with trauma all the time where I'm like, stop it, Sarah. Because apathy at the end of the day is probably what I think is going to be the biggest risk. Any degree of apathy, if you can't find any degree of empathy in a compassion in a situation, it doesn't have to be for the exact situation. I think Charlie Kirk's situation is what really made me see. I was like, okay, there's a lot of apathy going around. That's what kills people individually. That's what charges the masses, and that's what people with power play off of. I won't make it specific.
Can you for those who may not have the education and background of apathy, can you give us a brief description?
I would probably have to Google it to get it technical.
Because I have to look it up my damn self. I got you. Apathy is a state of lack of motivation, interest, and emotional connection. So I think put context to what you said, even I saw this, a lack of emotional connection with that. And I want to add on to that because I need your help too. Personal request, right? So to Donald's point, I'm gonna admit to say that I was desensitized, and the reason why I was is because I'm from South Central Los Angeles, California. I saw this a lot my whole life growing up, right? So it was hard for me to kind of feel it the way a lot of other people felt it because Corey shared a quote from a couple of episodes ago from Paid in Full. What was the character's name? Corey?
Money Mitch.
When he was like, ninjas die in these streets every day, B. So I'm kind of used to it, but that's horrible to be like that. And I guess a couple of things, right? On one thing, it's you get a high profile loss like that, right? Which I think that's an opportunity to acknowledge the situations like that from areas we come from. And I guess my question to you is, how do we not have that apathy because we've been desensitized to start a long-term, I guess, health therapy journey so that way we can get rid of that apathy? Because I was guilty of it myself.
Yeah, well, look, I don't know the full answer. I can tell you my way, but then I can also, what my gut tells me is that you just have to slowly reintroduce it to yourself. Overexposure can cause a degree of apathy like you were talking about. And so the way I do it is like I slowly introduce people back to their emotional experiences, as well as having to model. If you don't have a model for emotional expression, then that's partly what kind of the problem that we're in, is that we've had a generation raising us that doesn't express emotions, at least the family I come from.
You're not lying.
You're right. We talked about
that cohort. Yeah.
Yes. So for me as a therapist, I do so many things that I run out of ways to describe it, but a lot of it is I just model conversations for people. I model their internal dialect with themselves and trying to get it to come out. And if you feel like you don't necessarily have a healthy model for that emotion, then there's plenty of ways that you can learn that. I mean, honestly, I learned a lot of it from my movies. The Inside Out, I'm 36 years old, but Inside Out was finally.
Inside Out was on the nose.
On the nose, especially part 2 with anxiety.
Yeah. And
okay.
There's a lot of different models, but that's also where we have to be careful is like, we take social media, for example. That is an extremely large modeling community of what we think life should be, and emotions are in that. We see reality television teaching people, oh yeah, we're just going to pop off. I'll meet you in the streets, catch me outside.
Yeah.
No, we can have this conversation right here, right now. Like, we don't. Now, it's different from. I joke about this, but I had to learn a lot of things in life. I'm a 6 foot tall woman. I don't experience life the same way as a woman who's 5'5".
It's true.
And so I had to learn some parts of being a woman that my dad died. Like I had to learn a lot of life as I went, and there's never going to be a full, script of how it should be. But if I had to say how it should be, I would say that we have a shared communication style of expressing emotions healthy. If we do have conflict, that we are shown resolution in a healthy way. And we normalize being human again. Because at this point, that to me, I don't really see any other option. We keep putting it off through generations, and it's just not working. The economy is suffering for it.
Man, that's a big takeaway for me. I like that. And I want to repeat that. And sorry to cut you off, Corey, but I need to hear that again. Normalize being human. I think that's the missing link that I was looking for. I couldn't put a finger on it. I couldn't say what it was. That's what we lack. We do not normalize being human, and we need more of that. I'm so glad you said that. Thank you.
I truly agree with that, because of the fact that in underserved communities, it's almost like some people don't have the intentions to go there, and when they do, because they have this either vivid imagination or this perspective that it's going to be volatile, right? And violence hit hard in urban communities, and the thing about it is, I feel there's a lack of services like therapy in those communities. What have you experienced, you know what I'm saying, volatile situations in your in any of your sessions, and has some of them had to do with cultural backgrounds?
Great.
Yes, a lot. I mean, so talk about ADD on paper. My resume, like I said, kind of a correctional background. I've worked in residential treatment. So I've worked within the family system, outside. I've done private practice, DWI, all this. Like, tensions get high, especially when you got people practicing vulnerability for the first time in their lives. COVID would change the game. I would say I had the privilege of getting people in a safer space when I was working in an office. The majority of my practice is now virtual. And COVID, I had a couple of, well, I can't say that the person was in that demographic that was supposed to be more stable, but in a very stable position. But unfortunately, their partner was very insecure, and listening to the therapy session outside the door busted up into it. So, so yes, the answer is yeah. I got examples for days as to like, emotion is an intense experience.
Yeah.
As someone, I had to look, it's funny that this is, okay, let me bring this full circle. So y'all are in episode 69. I am a Cancer zodiac sign, which is
6'9". Yeah,
it's a 6'9". So let's look at the synergy there. But for me, as a Cancer, we get this bad rap of being like super sensitive, super emotional. They wouldn't be wrong for the first half of my career, and then that's what I realized. I was like, y'all, something's ain't right. I'm about to like quit social work for like the third time in 2 years, and then this was before COVID, mind you. And then I was just like, well, what if I had to do this differently? So I did my life as like a little case study. And I was like, well, what if we really like, we're just doing this backwards? To me, Now, I'm not going to tell anyone to try to jump ship on how they do therapy and come, but like to me, it made sense to try to live my life as a caretaker, as a human, as a daughter who, you know, I have to be present for my family. I do not have children, but I take care of other people's children and their animals quite often. That I had to figure out how to make it make sense moving forward, not go to a therapy office once a week and harbor myself in this, just like when no one likes to go into hospitals. It's all collected in a space. Yeah. And if you have no ability to practice mindfulness in motion, then we're gonna talk about grief. You will get stuck. You will just resist the whole, because no one wants to leave the safety of a therapy room and go back to their life where someone's threatening divorce or someone's doing this.
I do therapy. I was doing therapy every week. Now my provider has made it every other week. And I truly say that my therapy is at 10 o'clock, right? 10 o'clock in the morning. After my therapist session, especially if it's intense, I don't do anything else for the rest. And I work from home, but I don't do anything else for the rest of the day, except for pick up my kids and do my daddy duties, because of the fact that therapy is what you would call self-scarring to get to the surface of the, you know, it's, you know, if you ever broken a limb, you know, you have to go under the skin to repair. And then they put a cast on it so it can keep it in place, so it can heal over a number of days or weeks, right? Imagine therapy is doing the same thing, you know? And then it's like, I don't want to go out and go back to work, because I tried that one time. I had therapy session and then I drove back to work. This was back before pandemic times. And I was like, I didn't really get a chance to benefit from my session because I got through back into the fire. Yeah. And I think that was where people do therapy wrong. You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't say so, but I'm not here to come after your therapist.
No. I have a whole different therapy. Right. Okay. I'm saying my new therapist, she's A1 and on point. But you know what I'm saying? Like the reason why I say that, because I think, you know, we talked about how there's food distributions in communities, right? I think there should be some sort of therapist pull-up, right? Where somebody can just put out a table and just have a nice little relaxing chair. Table where they can be like, you know what? I need to talk to somebody for about 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. Like, okay, great. Have a seat. And I know you got to go through the process of getting medical clearance and things like that. But once they get that done, you know what I'm saying? They sit down and then have somebody just talk to them. I think the problem is certain people don't realize the safe space of therapy, because those conversations are mandatory, like sealed. You know what I'm saying? That's patient-client privilege. And I always go into there thinking that's why I can talk my head off about some of the stuff that me and my wife go through, right? Because of the fact that that's patient-client privilege. Those files won't be released to her until I die. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And even then, they may not go back. They may not go to her.
Yeah, they probably won't, unless she really like demands it. But I just want to add this too, because, you know, the visualization of what you put of, you know, that self-scarring, I do think it's very close to accurate. I technically tell people, I was like, yeah, I stress people out for a living, with a plan and consent. Okay. Like, right. But I do think the traditional form of talk therapy, as I'm a trained cognitive behavioral and then interest in other different behavioral therapies, that where I just was noticing where you left off in that description of like, you just kind of felt raw after, and like you just like left out to dry, you couldn't do anything. And honestly, like some of that, I you know what, we kind of need to like resist the process of like always having to feel productive and got to get back to the hustle and the grind and all this. But at the end of the day too, that's also what exhausts people and leads straight to apathy. Because why, if you're like, oh yeah, you know, break your leg and I just leave it open, air needs to get to it. No, like your leg is broken. It needs to have some structure back to it. So if you're in a therapy session and you feel like your therapist is just like, you know, it hits their time, which again is a thing, but is not closing up the wound for the session, get yourself a new therapist, because that person is just as burnt out as you are.
Excellent
there
point.
should be some bring it full circle and give a person a short-term plan to go back to their life, not just a treatment plan of all the goals that you're going to work on. I tend to be a little bit more of an opinionated therapist, but I also have worked for myself for more of the years.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I want to connect something you said earlier based on Donald's earlier question, because my physical therapist told me just that. She was like, my goal is to make you stop seeing me. So like, I don't want you relying on me too much. And what I'm picking up from this is the same with the mental health therapy. I appreciate that. And I wanted to ask you a question too. You said earlier we need to normalize being human. Would you agree that we also should normalize that it's okay to get help in therapy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You go, not just you. I'll speak to you, Geronimo, because you'll forgive me if I say anything.
I'll forgive you too, Sarah.
Look, we ain't got no problem going down and get food stamps, but we have a problem talking about our stuff.
That part.
Like
that part.
We have no
I got a problem
going
going and getting food stamps.
I want to be first in line, but I make too much money. Like, I mean, there is like, we have so much externalized shame that we're not taking responsibility for, that the internalized shame can't even, it just keeps producing and producing. That's what I call the trauma footprint, is that we have literally just externalized all these traumatic behaviors in the form of reality television. Some of it can be somewhat entertaining, but at the end of the day, if we're laughing at someone's trauma, we're not necessarily realizing how it's impacting us. And we can't even get to the point where we normalize having internal thoughts like that's, and I think some of it is not to blame anyone. I think really it's my field is fairly new. Like the DSM is in the 1900s.
Yeah.
It's not like biology here back in, Galileo times. Like we've had some experiences, but we didn't really know. First of all, the DSM is not something I really adhere to a whole lot these days, because I focus on recovery. Like, okay, cool. You get a diagnosis. What does your life look like now moving forward? Sorry,
Quick question, Sarah. Let those who don't know what the DSM is. I know because I'm in therapy, but those who may not know.
The DSM is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or disorders in general. So there's essentially one big book of saying all this clinical language about certain disorders that really, it's a controversial opinion, but is mostly for insurance companies to make sure we get paid and all the money moves around. Which we got to do it. That's why I'm trained in it, but I help people. It's a starting point. A diagnosis is a starting point. You are here on the map, and we all need to go to wherever is that what we've dreamed. How do you learn how to operate, the mind-body connection? And I think I lost my train of thought with that one.
No, you were talking about how, because Geronimo had asked you about getting help in mental health.
Oh, that's right.
And then
normalizing it and normalizing
I be jumping on that shame grunt like that. My central nervous system got up and my information started being like,
good. You got to get it out.
That's all right.
I get a little passionate.
Excellent point, though. I want to reiterate what you said. We got no problem getting them food stamps, but for some reason, when we need help mentally, we don't want to go. That's crazy to me. And actually, that leads to the next question that I have. What type of community solutions do you see that actually work, especially in terms of when people do need help to deal in grief and heal from seeing violence and trauma?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind is harm reduction. So it's important I tell my clients to understand, like me as a therapist, I'm a clinical social worker, which means my educational background is looking at systems, micro, meso, and macro. So I don't really go towards the macro just in my little appearances. I have given my opinion on what, from a governmental standpoint, we all need reform on each level. So, but I'm also a harm reduction therapist. I've tried to tell people I would never tell anyone go cold turkey off of any kind of drug, even caffeine. Like, it is not sustainable, in my opinion. I think abstinence is the goal, but harm reduction, which means we're educating ourselves on prevention strategies. We're dealing with proactively with the problem and directing it towards a solution. We're bridging the gap between where we want to be and where we are, not just trying to make it make sense that one thing causes another thing. Like, if that tells you my stance on Tylenol, it's not causing anything but a little bit of relief for some people who deal with chronic pain. And that autism is, let me steer back to the point. Harm reduction means being solution focused and not problem stuck.
Got you.
Okay. Focus on the solution.
Yeah. Don't give too much energy to the crash out.
Yes.
Good point.
That term is starting to irk my nerves a little bit, but
no, I get it. But see, we got YN listeners too, and we got to make sure they can hit the terminology as well.
But we could also just call it crying, and that's okay.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? It's a good point, because I mean, I know our generation, we were told as boys, don't cry. You better not cry.
Yeah, cry.
Quit crying, little punk.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. And that's why I think we all got a little bit of something to do with this. We all can do something on a micro level and just normalize, like, yeah, I'm a cry. I will cry when I'm happy. I'll cry when I'm sad. Don't put me in front of I will not cry.
Yeah.
My brain will like, don't do that, Sarah.
Like my favorite movie.
Right back to my unhealthy ways.
My favorite movie on Friday, when Red gets get his chain taken, he gonna cry in the car.
Oh, he gonna cry in the car. Yeah,
he gonna cry in the car.
The worst one is when it, like, and this is partly why I would go to my breath, is I cry when I get frustrated. And so whenever I have like big anger, was a tough emotion for me to really like dig deep, because I grew up with like, no, you don't get angry at me. And so yeah, I start to tear up, my voice shakes, and I'm like, okay, I gotta breathe. Yeah. That's why breath, I will die on the hill. We
went right back full circle back to the breath, man. No, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Bobby, did you have anything else at this point in the journey that you would like to bring up or ask Sarah?
No, I think that Dr. Poole actually brought up the statement that I was going to make about people being like desensitized and stuff. And how do you deal with somebody who you can clearly see they've been just desensitized to like the Charlie Kirk situation, and rather than feeling some sort of, even if you didn't know who he was, like a human being passed away in front of everybody in a very public, disturbing way. And there are people who have posted themselves just laughing and thinking it's hilarious. And, you know, those people are obviously everywhere, but like, how do you deal with the emotion of what that leads to?
Great question.
When you were talking, Bobby, I was thinking, of course, it's gonna fly out of my brain right now. I'll make sure I say this the most intention. If this is a time to start paying attention, not to start pulling away from people, but paying attention to the people around you. There's been I've watched a lot of different people cope with this whole Charlie Kirk thing. It's honestly, I'm not going to say it's a favor. I don't think that would be a little audacious to do that, but this is, in some way, I can argue this is a favor for our generation to start to really normalize being human again. And the human experience is an emotional one and a spiritual one. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It's a matter of who you are and how you're going to deal with difficult people around you. Mm-hmm. They're not going anywhere. This is just where we're all information age. Is pay attention to who's around you, and because you can't block everyone, you will isolate yourself, and that is also unhealthy mentally. But we do need to learn how to be isolated on our own intentionally, learn to hold space for ourselves, learn to hold our tongues, learn some manners in some regard. I have family members who I don't agree with, who voted for people I don't like, and I have a very small family, so if I cut everyone off, I'm already living on an island by myself in terms of my life, in terms of how I, teach people a different way of life. Mm-hmm. And I can't cut everyone out. That is not in existence.
No.
So I really hope people just start to pay attention and learn really that this is the time to learn the skills. Everything is, it's out there. I'm not charging people for information they can find for free. I'm just organizing it for them in a way of like, go to my YouTube channel. I'll give you the layout of like, watch this video to learn this skill before you do this. But at the end of the day, life hands us stuff at an unprecedented speed because it's trying to wake us up.
I want to touch on that a little bit because when you said something, it made me remember how I felt when I heard about Nipsey Hussle getting killed. You know what I'm saying? I was, and I lived in the neighborhood where he was murdered, which was literally about a block away. And at first, like, you would think that the community would be like, oh, we about to ride on, we about to ride. But then when they found out it was someone from that internal, it was inside their hood, even their enemies of that neighborhood came out to show love and support to that individual, right? And I think that if we can find a way to piece it up when somebody is hurting, regardless of what color you are, red or blue, Crip or Blood, Democrat or Republican, where we can be able to find a way to just say, you know what? A loss is a loss.
Yeah.
How do we come together and move forward?
Mm-hmm.
I think we as a people will be able to say, okay, I disagree with what you're saying, but pass the yams. You feel me?
Yeah.
Leave it at the yams.
And leave it at the yams.
Leave it at the yams. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like long-term support within all communities is needed, right?
Yeah.
No matter how rich you are or how poor you are, pain hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing we have as a common denominator. Pain
is also what tells us we're alive too.
Yeah.
So if you want to normalize being human, not to say put yourself in pain, no physical pain, but
no.
Yeah, the emotional self-scarring. Come to therapy.
Hey, real quick, I want to share from IG, Nomad_Noe said, great topic. He's going to share this with his colleagues. His MH team might take some notes from this session. MH, I don't know what MH is. Is that a
mental health?
Yeah, okay, mental health team. That makes sense. So yeah, look at that. Mental health folks saying good job. Hey, we on this one. That's what's up. So speaking of a loss being a loss, right? To close us out, we there's another loss going on right now. That's kind of recent too.
Yeah.
And this in terms of jobs. Recently, Starbucks announced a bunch of closures. You had Accenture just announced 11,000 people getting laid off. That's another thing, right? That where people are going to need some tips on how do they cope with that loss, right? Because we're talking losses. Like, what kind of advice and tips would you give people that may be going through that, or they got to help someone that's going through that?
The first one we started talking about this earlier, that I used the term off camera, which was flexible structure. The biggest issue I see from the patterns of other people's patterns is when we lose something, we lose our relationship with time the most, especially with a job. When in North Carolina, I sit on the outskirts of one of the biggest employers of the state. I'm not sure I should say their name, but
we don't want to get in trouble.
They've just done a significant amount of layoffs between all aspects of their institution, and they also have a significant conflict within the community and not being supportive of the community. So they hurt. And really the biggest concern I have for anyone who, whether it be voluntary or involuntary, you're having to leave a job, is find some degree of structure for your day. Right, the way the brain operates, and most people's brains are a little bit faster than others. The neurodivergence is really like a speed thing. But is that we're all or nothing. It may seem like a vacation at first to sleep in and just go with the flow. I would not recommend it. And I'm not saying get up at 5:30 every day because you got to beat traffic, but plan and structure your day generally to do things to start normalizing your personal time again. You know, if you're losing income, I absolutely understand that is scary, but all of that is just time. It is you spent time doing work for other people and you got compensated to spend it on the life that you in. And maybe this is a place where you have to do an inventory of the things that you weren't necessary in purchasing in your life. You know, the inventory is such a common term in my industry, given, you know, substance abuse people, they have to do an inventory every darn day. That's why I think this is going to be a time where mental health and recovery people, we're kind of used to it. Is, you know, I've had to highly address my relationship with time, being an attention deficit person and being a solopreneur. I can't rely on just, I don't wake up at 10 a.m. I gotta wake up at 5:30, get in the gym, mind-body connection in order to stand any chance of keeping up with my to-do list. So it is a time, I think, for people to learn a lot of new skills, and a lot of that is you're going to fail some days. You're going to sleep in and you're not going to want to do anything. You're going to normalize the less restrictions on cannabis, and I promise it's not going to make anything better.
Yeah. I have a word of encouragement for those who are facing that. It's just in case this drops on them while they're scrolling through LinkedIn looking for a job and they decide to take a break and get onto YouTube or Instagram after they like, comment, and subscribe onto our channel. I want them to look at this. Think about the skill set that you used at that job. Now you're the subject matter expert in that field. These platforms are free to get on. You get enough people to look at you, you get monetized. Once you get monetized, you keep creating the same content that you're a subject matter expert in. I did a video earlier today, and this just landed just the same way. I like to tell those who are in management who lost their job, learn how to create a managing profile or a managing system in your in that business. Put your spin on it, sell it to their competition. That way it can provide you a source of income. Also, you now are an independent consultant until you find that job that you need. So other companies where you probably go into a grocery store and say, hey, you know what? I got laid off at Whole Foods, but I see they're not running this thing right. Maybe if I go in there and tell them, like, you know, you could do this a little better, turn the freezer to this degree so that way your food will last longer, the color won't change. And then boom, you providing them some insight, and they may even hire you with a higher pay because of the fact you helped them out. Here's the thing. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you put that inside of a pamphlet, you're now the subject matter expert, and everybody has a social media platform, and they don't use it as it, they use it as a media. Now use it as a platform to get either the job you want or create the space you need, because we always talk about the streams of income, but we never focus on the river. We're the river, and we produce the streams.
I can tell Corey's been to therapy because his reframe capabilities are on point. I want to add just one quick thing. You said something, and then I know we're going to wrap up. Absolutely, everything Corey just said, I think it's different to shift that perspective at first for people when you're so used to seeing a certain office, we're attached to certain visual experiences of work. To get creative, this is a time to get innovative in our own lives. But here's the thing, don't get attached just to the labels of the professional identities that you have served before. Something's better than nothing at this point, because honestly, I'm not a full economist. I'm an emotional economist of I know patterns. We're gonna be stuck for a little bit of a while, and it's gonna get worse before it gets better. That's in every written consent of a psychotherapist, don't care what state you're in. And it really is you might have to get creative with your skills and put them in a place where you don't want to be. But if you have a family to feed, I'm telling you, I've got clinical researchers with master's degrees that I'm like, look, ego aside, see if the grocery store needs some extra help at night. If you really need that, please don't stay attached to one identity. And this is a time to get secular in that.
Yeah. I like that. That's great advice. That's excellent advice. And actually, you know what? And what Corey was describing, you had that journey, right? Because you are a master in your craft. And remind folks what you do again to help them out and how to get in touch with you if they decide they can use that help.
Are you talking to Corey or me?
Sarah. Sorry.
Oh, my bad. Okay. Corey was like nodding, like, yeah, I am.
Yes, girl, I was waiting for you to speak.
Okay, so my website is probably the easiest place to find me. You'll help me with my SEOs. My YouTube, look, it needs some TLC because, to be honest with you, my industry is just very niche. You have to be very interested in wanting to do better little by little in your life to get my content. It's a little bit lecture style, but it's good, free accountability. Listen to it, and if you want some questions, anyways. But to find me, you can find me on Instagram. So my new hobby, not to confuse the situation, I did start fashion modeling. So I've, as a representation of, showing people when you really focus on yourself, you get way more energy back. You nourish yourself better. Look, I don't go to McDonald's, but I do go to Cookout and I do go to Wendy's from time to time.
Shout out to Cookout.
But it doesn't have to be perfect. A little goes a long way in terms of change. And if you can start little by little integrating mental health into your day to day and taking those breaks, training your brain little by little, I am the proof that I didn't make any extra money. I mean, I'm about to, I'm scaling my business now, but I had to fix my thinking for me to be able to get on a Fashion Week runway.
Fashion Week runway. Hey. Sarah Wilder. Are you going on there with
my social media? It's going to be a little confusing because it's like,
I saw it. I was confused. I was like, what is she doing?
Yeah. What? It started off as a hobby, but it's about mind-body connection. Y'all, walking in heels with first of all, I don't have ergonomically the type of feet that should be at an angle on my tippy toes. It's just not, it's kind of a miracle in my mind.
Me neither.
Same. I wasn't built like
I don't have heel feet. I
got wide feet.
Never tried it. Didn't want to.
But it's there. It's proof. If you live for yourself and you nourish yourself, you can do anything you want.
Yeah,
I like that.
That is true because the fact that I have been in the gym for over 2 years and 1.5 consistently every week, I am very, very a firm believer of that.
I'm proud of you too.
That's what's up.
Give me the guns close.
Hey, flex them guns.
I'm not. Wait a minute, hold on. My rocket is empty. I'm out of fuel right now. Give me 2 more bites. I have something with you.
There it is. I see it.
There you go. Hey, and anyone watching this, when the replay hits, the links will be in the description below. So make sure y'all go down there and click those links. Get in touch with Sarah. But on your way down, when you scroll down to the description, hey, make a quick pit stop on that subscribe button. Click that real quick, and then click that like button too. And then go hit up Sarah. You feel me? And we're gonna be good to go. But hey, man, this was great. Thank you. I took notes. The biggest 2 things that I got was normalize being human, and then normalize your personal life. And reintroduce yourself to emotions. Those are my top 3 takeaway. That's something I'm gonna take and work on because I'm in that class of I've been desensitized. So I'm like, I will have to do some homework to really reintroduce myself to emotions so that I'm not so just mute to things. I can't help it. And I was in the military, so we had to learn how to compartmentalize trauma so we can operate. So I can admit and say I got some work to do.
That's a lot of noise. I know I'm privileged to not have, but I have a dog now, so that kind of bridges the gap. She's a barker. But desensitized by normalizing your senses too. That's a big one too.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that, man. You done gave us some gold. I appreciate that. Again, y'all, we're asking her to come back every once in a while because we need this healing, man. And I got some work to do. I appreciate it. Anybody else got anything before we sign off?
Thanks for coming. Thank you. Your wonderful insight.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, that was episode 69, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Thank you. Make sure y'all hit her up. That's it. Y'all have a good night. Y'all have a good week. Work on yourself. Holla.
Peace.